One mightier than I is coming after me. I am not worthy to untie his sandals. Prepare the way of the Lord. Today we continue in the second week of our message series, Jesus, Messiah. Shortly after Thanksgiving, I always look forward to the Christmas specials that are aired weekly, if not daily. And one favorite of mine is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's the one that's narrated by Burl Ives in that animated short film. It's a little bit dated, but it seems like it never gets old. And at the end of the episode, now caution, there's a spoiler alert here. At the end of the episode, Santa asks Rudolph to lead his sleigh with his bright and shiny nose. And he asks Rudolph, "Are you ready?" And Rudolph proudly replies, "Ready, Santa." As we prepare for Christmas during this Advent season, the Lord asks us, "Are you ready?" And we will need to respond. You know, looking back at my childhood, and that was even before the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer episode was filmed. Looking back at my childhood, I recall that my mother was a very good housekeeper. You could come to our modest home at any time and never find anything out of place. There was never a bed unmade or a dirty dish in the sink. You would never find clothes on the floor or a sock under the bed. There was a place for everything, and everything had its place. And even though my house always looked fine to me, I can still remember what it was like around our house when my mother had company coming. She brought out the broom, the mop and the pail, sponges, window cleaner, bathroom cleaner, dust rags, and furniture polish. And then she always checked to make sure there was not a speck of dust or dirt that remained. So can you imagine what it would have been like around my house if we had been expecting a visit from the Lord Jesus, the Messiah himself? Would we be ready? So are you ready? Prepare the way of the Lord. As we await the second coming of the Messiah, both at Christmas and at the end of times in the second coming, maybe the best way to prepare for the Lord is to do a little bit extra in the way of prayer or service. Last week, Deacon Chris mentioned in his homily about the hustle and bustle of Christmas, and we tried to resolve to do something, but we tried to resolve to do too much, and in doing so, nothing gets accomplished. So in preparing for Jesus' coming, preparing to be ready, it might just take 5 or 10 minutes of your time in prayer or reflection, something you might normally do as part of your regular routine. Or perhaps you might take an hour or so during the ensuing week to perform some kind of service, an act of service to the Lord. Maybe by helping someone who is in need of a listening ear, or performing some act of kindness. This morning, before Mass, you heard a talk about the good works that the Society of St. Vincent de Paul does in our parish. They do so to serve the poor among us. As you heard, the needs in our towns are great, and they're particularly enhanced at Christmas time when so many families have to do without. So perhaps your act of service might take the form of a donation, which would help to lighten the burden of families with children, or the homebound, or those suffering from food insecurity. The beautiful part of St. Vincent de Paul's Society is that it meets not only the material needs of those whom they visit, but their spiritual needs as well. Their visits are always done in the name of the Lord Jesus, without whom their service would be empty. And so preparing the way of the Lord means both prayer and service. We don't necessarily have to shout from the mountaintops, as Isaiah mentioned, but perhaps sometimes just being a sign of Jesus' presence to those we meet, and by seeing their presence in them, that might be a good way to make disciples of others and lead them to God, the Messiah. So are you ready to take the next small steps to follow Jesus? For John the Baptist reminds us, one mightier than I is coming after me. And so wait, watch, prepare, pray, and serve, because the Lord is near.